So look, welcome everybody. I think I've got the best seat in the house with my back to the fire here. So as you know, we're here to talk about the government accommodation announcements, but I think last week we were talking about up on the Port Hills, opening up some roads and tracks up there. So from up on the Port Hills, where we all run around in our free time, to down in the city where we're going to make better accommodation for our public servants. It's great. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my Minister, Minister Brownlee. Welcome.
I'm sure that applause was for Roger. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can I acknowledge the people who are here today? We think this is a significant occasion and a significant announcement. So I'm very pleased that we have City Councillors here, Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck, saw David East there before, Jimmy Chen. Anyone I've missed, I'm sorry, but it's important that we do recognise the progress that today's announcement is about. And firstly, the announcement is to announce the integrated accommodation program that the government is engaged in, bringing civil servants back into the city. And I'm very pleased to announce that the first stage of the project is really coming to fruition today, and that's been a huge amount of work from David White, who leads the Government Property Centre of Excellence team, with Justin Delahaye and Paul McCaffrey. So those guys have done a very good job, and I know there are a number of building owners who are here today are going to make some comments as well. What this will see is staff from 13 different government departments returning to the city into buildings that will be built in the next probably 12 to 15 months. Those negotiations are continuing to secure a fourth building, which will also house up to 400 in addition to the 1,100 who will go into the buildings that are represented by this initial contract. We expect that we should have that last tranche of the accommodation announced by the end of this year. The Central Government Accommodation Project has been undertaken as a way of working more efficiently and encouraging government departments to utilise their synergies, if you like, one from the other. And one of the opportunities that's been recognised here in Christchurch is the fact that we are starting new and that there are ways in which we can have a more collaborative working environment, even down to just sharing fleet cars, etc. A lot of other things that can be achieved as well. Moving into these large shared lease facilities will see us bringing together staff that were previously spread across 14 buildings in the city, and many of them out on the edges of the city as well. And it is for the government about a $170 million commitment over the next 20 years in both lease costs and costs of the relocations. The three buildings that we're talking about today are all built around the retail precinct here. You'll be able to see that progress is moving very, very quickly through that part of the city. And it's the government doing its bit to bring people back into the city itself. If you take a bit of an analysis across the Justice Precinct, the new hospital development, the bus interchange, and now the influx of people that will be coming here, it's a commitment that will see about 3,000 state servants coming in to work daily in the tight area of the new CBD. That has to be, I think, very encouraging for others who are starting to make their investment decisions. And if you think just a couple of weeks ago we were here for the 200 or 300 people who work in Vodafone, there are lots of those decisions coming now from the private sector. It's important that the government does show the way where the government is an employer of bringing people back into the city. So really I would just like to conclude by congratulating the Property Centre of Excellence for the great work they've done in, I suppose, putting life behind what was a simple political idea, but does have to have a whole lot of commercial arrangements attached to it. And I want to thank also those who are party to those arrangements for their commitments around buildings, and to all those who will also be ancillary with them. This is, I think, significant. because it is just yet again an example that Christchurch is going to be a dynamic place. It represents too the sort of innovation that we're seeing not only from government departments but from almost anybody and everybody involved in the rebuild of our city. Thanks very much.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Warwick Isaacs. I head up Christchurch Central Development Unit, and thank you, Minister, for those comments. Well, it's certainly great to be here again today for what is a growing number of fantastic announcements in our central city. As many commentators have observed recently, there's now a real sense of momentum in the central city with growing confidence in the opportunities that are being offered in the CBD of Christchurch. I want to thank those here today who are showing the commitment to the central city. First, Nick Hunt from Litchfield Holdings, Frank Delachichi from Grand Hotels International, and Christina Gardner from BNZ. And they'll shortly share with you the undertakings that they're about to move on with in the central city. The growing commitment we're seeing from the private sector is certainly complementing the investment of the City Council and the government in anchor projects and the regeneration of the central area of Christchurch. And there'll be more positive announcements to come, I'm certain about that, in the weeks and months to follow today. Just want to invite you now to watch a video up here, just a short video that will just show you how the return of public servants into the central city will add to the exciting mix and vibrancy of the new city. Thank you very much.
This year, the $40 billion rebuild of Christchurch picks up speed as 6 of the anchor projects get underway, with government and Christchurch City Council committing hundreds of millions of dollars to the central city rebuild. Following an earlier commitment by Inland Revenue to house 200 staff next to the iconic Ballantyne's building, the government has also reached agreement on 3 private developments that will see 13 government agencies, a total of 1,100 workers, moving back into the heart of the city. The 3 new developments will be in close proximity to the bus interchange, the Justice and Emergency Services Precinct, the Avon River and the Square, creating easy access to all aspects of the revitalised city centre. Located on the former site of the Grand Chancellor, 145 to 161 Cashel Street will be a 6-storey development, with government agencies occupying levels 2, 3 and 4. It will face south onto Cashel Street, with retail space occupying the ground floor and parking for cars and bicycles. Cashel Square is a 2-stage development located inside the retail precinct. In each stage, floors 1 to 4 will be taken up by office space. Mezzanine car parking will be available above the ground floor of stage 1, with the ground floors of both buildings providing an exciting array of retail shopping. A total of 9 government departments will occupy levels 1 to 3 of stage 1 and level 1 of stage 2. The consolidation of the government sector into the heart of the central city will provide a much-needed catalyst for the many exciting private sector developments planned for the new retail precinct. The newly designed central city will create a vibrant hub of lanes and open courtyards. Modern building design will bring business and retail together in a way that was impossible in the old city centre. Analysts are now predicting that within 3 years, up to 10,000 people will be working within 300 metres of the new city centre. The co-location of various government agencies into that centre is another step toward that vision.
Christina Gardner from the BNZ. The BNZ have been big supporters of Christchurch since the very beginning. Maybe I got to ask you to say a few words.
Thank
Christina,
you very
welcome.
much. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. The BNZ has been a part of the Christchurch community and grown with the economy since 1862, so a few years ago now. And that's when our first branch opened in Christchurch. As we all know, living in Christchurch 3 years ago, how we lived and where and how we worked changed completely. At that time, our CEO made a commitment that the BNZ would return to the CBD as soon as we possibly could. So today, on behalf of our CEO, Anthony Healy, and the BNZ board, I'm really pleased to confirm that the BNZ has agreed commercial terms with Litchfield Holdings and will be a part of Cashel Square Stage 2. Around about 200 of our Christchurch-based team will work out of the CBD location, and we will have a 2,900 square metre office space and partner centre on the top floor, and a 477 square metre state-of-the-art store on the ground floor facing into Cashel Mall. Cashel Square development is a really exciting development for Christchurch and the next step of the rebuild. And the BNZ is very much the bank for the rebuild and is very, very pleased and excited about being part of this development. Thank you.
I was going to suggest that Nick Hunt, the landlord, developer, come and just speak for a few minutes. Welcome, Nick, it's great.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long road to get here, but we've certainly appear to have got there now, and for that I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to Gerry Brownlee and his CCDU team who have been integral in getting this together. I'm very grateful to the council and the building consent people, especially within the council, for getting those vital consents through to us on time to enable this to happen. And I'm also very grateful to my wife, who is long-suffering wife, who has put up with this over the last 8 months. So I like to thank them as well. This was always going to be a partnership due to the fact that all these buildings were continually being demolished around us. It has delayed the start of the Central City build. But that's just life, I'm afraid. There's no way that could have been avoided. In consequence, some of the less far-sighted tenants have moved into secondary locations in the outskirts, but I'd like to think they will regret that in years to come. We are looking to see a full and vibrant city within the Cashel Mall and spreading out from there, and I'm confident we'll achieve that. There are a lot of retail interest coming through, and if we can fill up the rest of the vacant office space, then I'm sure we're going to have a great city that everyone will want to keep on coming back to. I think it'd be wrong also at this stage not to mention Ballantyne's, who made that initial commitment right back in 2011 to get us going, and I certainly appreciate that. And I think we can also say the same about my fellow developers of default, shall we say, who have made the commitments as well. As I say, my wife and I were just really small investors within the city. We had built a couple of sort of 1,000 square metre single level buildings. We've done a bit of refurbishment, but the commitment that we're making now, as indeed the rest of the city is, to these mammoth developments has been outside our experience. So it's all a learning curve, and I say once again I'd like to thank Gerry Brownlee, the CCTDs, and most of all PIMCO, the government organisation that handles the government agencies, for that. But I'd also like to the BNZ, we're a little bit further behind there, but we have a good relationship there, and we are going to welcome them into the area with a big thank you. Thank you all very much.
Hopefully, if I don't get hit by the feedback. I was now going to ask for Frank Delachiki. Frank runs Grand Hotels International in New Zealand and Australia as well. So he's also been very much part of this announcement here today. Welcome, Frank.
Morning all. I said it earlier, but this is not because of the Crown negotiations. They were rather the opposite. Minister Brownlee, good morning, and morning everybody. I just wanted to share my appreciation and thanks, really reiterating what Nick has said. Our negotiations and discussions with the Crown started some time ago with our RFP back in sort of March of last year submission, but as with all of these sort of negotiations, you tend to start at differing ends of the scale. But I think the overarching desire from both parties has been to get Christchurch up and running again. And with that in mind, the process has been painless, other than this. It's been painless. It's been really a collaborative approach. So we are thankful to Justin and David and the agencies in particular who are now coming to be tenants in our building. We certainly look forward to a long relationship with everybody, a fruitful one from both parties. We, like Nick, are hoping that we can fill the rest of our building up with other tenants, both commercial and retail on our ground floor. And yes, that's really it. We very much look forward to Christchurch, the rebuild and the reactivation of the CBD. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
So that concludes the formal part of the program. We've now got a cup of tea, coffee and a few refreshments as well. Thank you all very much for coming. Good morning.